Okay, try to picture this. Dr. Ian Roberts, he's the superintendent of Iowa's biggest school district, Des Moines, pulling in almost, what, $290,000 a year?
Yep, big seller.
A celebrated reformer, former Olympian, suddenly arrested. And not by local cops.
No, by federal ICE agents.
Right. After he apparently fled a traffic stop, they find his district-issued car abandoned later.
And inside?
Inside, they find a loaded Glock 19 handgun, a fixed-blade hunting knife, and about $3,000 in cash.
It's just, the contrast is staggering, isn't it? This is someone who held really the ultimate public trust, leading a district with 30,000 kids.
And the whole time he was, well, allegedly subject to a final order of deportation. A fugitive, basically. So welcome to this deep dive. Today we're trying to unpack the, frankly, extraordinary case of Dr. Ian Roberts, because this isn't just about one guy potentially misrepresenting himself.
No, it's way bigger. It points to a massive, multi-layered institutional failure. How does someone under a final deportation order get one of the top public trust jobs in an entire state?
Exactly. Our source material really lays out this systemic breakdown. Vetting processes, local, state, private firms, they all seem to have failed.
And we have to look at this carefully constructed public image versus the stark legal reality underneath.
So the core question we need to answer for you is how? How did the system miss this? We've got to uncover these administrative gaps. Why didn't the standard background checks catch this massive red flag?
And what does it tell us about institutional integrity, about public trust, especially in these really high-stakes hires, not just in Iowa, but, everywhere?
Okay, let's unpack this.
What's fascinating here is just how powerful that public narrative was. It really shielded him.
Totally. It was the classic immigrant success story, wasn't it? Born in Guyana.
Right, framed exactly like that,
Yeah.
which creates this immediate, confirmation bias. People wanted to believe it.
And not just an immigrant success story, an elite athlete. He ran for Guyana in the 800 meters at the 2000 Sydney Olympics.
Which gives this impression of discipline, of credibility, right off the bat.
Yeah, and then his career just seemed to build on that. He was known as a turnaround principal.
Especially at Anacostia High School in D.C. He got a lot of praise there, improving attendance, cutting down disciplinary problems. I think he even won Principal of the Year back in 2013.
That sounds right. So by the time he gets the Des Moines job in July 2023, he's seen as this proven leader. Local officials, the teachers' unions, they called him a tremendous advocate, a beacon of light.
And that kind of a claim, it almost acts like an institutional sedative, It lowers the guard.
So when the arrest happened, the shock was real. The Des Moines Public Schools spokesperson even said something like,
The district has seen nothing that would suggest that he's not a citizen. That quote really captures it.
Yeah, it shows how completely the administration bought into the narrative they were given. The suspicion index for their own top executive was just 0.
But the legal reality, that was already ticking away in the background. He came here in '99 on a student visa,
Okay.
but his authorization to work expired in 2020.
2020. So for years, including while he was running Iowa's largest school district.
He was working without legal standing. Correct. And then the critical point, May 2024, a U.S. immigration judge issues a final order of removal, legally binding. He's required to leave the country.
And this is key. The school district insists they were never officially told about this order by any federal agency.
Which is a huge potential communication breakdown right there.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the firearms history, because that seems connected to how this all unraveled.
Right, the timeline suggests it is. Remember back in November 2021, he was superintendent in Pennsylvania then.
Yes, cited for having a loaded hunting rifle in his car.
He pleaded guilty to a minor infraction, paid a small fine, like $100, in early 2022. He actually told DMPS about this, framed it as a misunderstanding.
But that minor conviction, that might have been the trigger.
It very likely was the tripwire. For someone whose work authorization was already expired, any new contact with the justice system, even minor.
It flags the file.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It almost certainly flags his file for a full immigration status review. And that review is what probably led directly to that May 2024 removal order.
Okay, so that brings us to the arrest itself, September 26, 2025. ICE sets up a targeted traffic stop.
And he allegedly hits the gas, speeds away, abandons the district car near some woods, triggers a manhunt.
Leading to the discovery of the Glock, the cash, the knife.
And we have to stress, it's illegal under federal law for someone unlawfully present in the U.S. to possess a firearm.
Right, so ICE referred the gun part to the ATF immediately.
Correct. for investigation into how he acquired it.
But hang on, there was something else the sources pointed out. ICE kept mentioning another separate charge?
Yes, an existing weapon possession charge from February 5, 2020, distinct from the 2021 Pennsylvania thing.
And the media couldn't find any record of that 2020 charge?
Nope. Searches came up empty, which leaves us with a really worrying ambiguity.
Either IC made a clerical error in a high-profile federal case,
which is a big problem in itself. Lack of factual precision from a federal agency.
or Roberts had another weapons charge from 2020 that he never disclosed, and the vetting missed that too.
Which would suggest an even deeper pattern of deception. Until that 2020 reference is cleared up, it's a significant unknown.
And it brings us right back to the vetting process, or the failure of it.
The root cause seems undeniable now. Misrepresentation. Consistent misrepresentation.
He repeatedly claimed U.S. citizenship on job applications, state licensing forms,
Provided a driver's license and a Social Security card for his I-9 employment form. Documents that, on the surface, probably looked legit.
And this wasn't new. You mentioned he was registered to vote.
As an active Democrat in Maryland, yeah. Records show that as far back as 2017.
And voting is strictly for citizens.
Absolutely. So that points to a long-standing, calculated pattern of falsely claiming citizenship across different states, different systems.
Okay, so if he's lying consistently, why didn't Des Moines catch it? They hired outside firms, right? Did the standard I-9 check.
They did. But the standard I-9, fundamentally, it's about reviewing the documents the applicant provides and relying on their self-attestation, their sworn statement.
It doesn't independently verify the status itself.
Not usually. That's what the E-Verify system does.
Yeah.
It's optional for most employers, but it cross-references the info directly with federal Social Security and Homeland Security databases.
And Des Moines, they didn't use E-Verify for their new superintendent.
Apparently not. They relied on his documents and his word for arguably the highest trust position in the district. That looks like a major gap in due diligence.
Then there's the state level, the Iowa Board of Educational Examiners, the BOEE. They licensed him. They did checks too, didn't they?
They did the standard checks. State police background, FBI criminal history report.
But
here's the fatal flaw in the system design. Those FBI checks are built to find criminal history. Arrests, convictions.
okay.
They're not designed to detect civil administrative judgments. And a final order of removal from an immigration judge. That's a civil administrative judgment.
Ugh. So they were using the wrong tool. They were looking for felonies, basically, not for immigration status issues.
Precisely. The system was screening for bank robbers, maybe, but it wasn't set up to catch someone whose legal right to be in the country had been revoked through a civil process.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire vetting system, the district, the private firms they hired, the state licensing board, it was all built on assuming the applicant was truthful.
Right, and it used tools that simply couldn't verify legal immigration status. The tools that could do that, like E-Verify, or the SAVE program which government agencies can use, weren't standard procedure.
Especially not for a position this high up, which is kind of backwards, isn't it?
You'd think the scrutiny would increase, not decrease, based on the level of trust involved.
So once ICE made the arrest and the facts about the removal order came out, the local school board didn't have much choice, did they?
Their discretion basically vanished overnight. The administrative fallout was incredibly fast.
Initially on September 27th, they put him on paid leave while they investigated.
But the very next day, September 28th, the Iowa BOEE acted.
The licensing board?
Yes. They revoked his professional administrator license. And the reason they gave was explicit: his lack of legal presence in the U.S.
And that was the key, because his contract required a valid license.
Exactly. The license revocation was a material breach of his employment contract. It legally forced the Des Moines School Board's hand.
So they had to switch him from paid leave to unpaid leave and start termination proceedings. There was no wiggle room left.
None at all. The legal path was clear once the license was pulled.
And predictably, this whole thing just blew up publicly. Very polarized reactions.
Oh, absolutely. Which tends to happen with high-profile immigration enforcement actions. You saw two very distinct narratives emerge almost immediately.
You had the official law enforcement angle pushed by ICE and also the state governor, Kim Reynolds, their focus.
Public safety. The loaded gun, fleeing the traffic stop. Governor Reynolds put it bluntly, "We are a nation of laws that must be enforced," framing it purely as necessary law enforcement.
But then you had this completely different community narrative. Protests erupted.
Yeah, signs saying things like, "Free Dr. Roberts," education, not deportation. The teachers' unions, community members, they were praising his leadership, his compassion.
And expressing fear, right, that this would scare the immigrant communities in the district.
A lot of fear, yes. It highlighted this deep conflict between the legal facts of his status and the positive impact many felt he was having.
The Des Moines board president, Jackie Norris, she kind of captured that tension perfectly, didn't she?
She did. She said something like, "Two things can be true at the same time. Dr. Roberts was an effective and well-respected leader, and there are serious questions related to his citizenship and ability to legally perform his duties."
Which really sums up the dilemma they were facing. So what does this all mean? When we boil it down, what are the big takeaways here?
I think there are two really crucial lessons. First, public bodies, especially for high-trust leadership roles, they just cannot rely solely on applicant self-attestation and basic document checks anymore.
They need to use the robust federal verification systems.
Yes. E-Verify, the Save V program for government entities. These need to become standard operating procedure, not optional extras, for positions of significant public trust.
And the second lesson?
The interagency communication failure is critical. A federal agency, ICE or USCIS, cannot issue a final removal order for the sitting superintendent of a major city's school district in May, and then apparently fail to formally notify that employer for months.
That information gap is dangerous.
It's incredibly dangerous. It allowed this situation to continue and escalate until it ended in a manhunt involving a potentially armed individual. That gap has to be closed.
Okay, so that leaves us with the final provocative thought for you, our listeners. This case, it really wasn't just about one person's actions, was it?
No, it feels much more like a profound system failure, a system almost designed to miss this specific kind of vulnerability.
So, if this entire vetting structure, multiple checks, state licensing outside firms, was insufficient for the superintendent of a major school district, arguably one of the most visible and trusted public roles, then what level of oversight failure might be lurking in other high-trust but maybe less visible public sector jobs? Think about, I don't know, procurement managers handling millions in public funds, police officers, administrators working on critical infrastructure.
Where the vetting might be even less rigorous than for a superintendent.
Exactly. What standard of due diligence should we actually demand from the systems that are supposed to protect public safety, public funds, and, in this case, our kids' schools?
It's a question that really needs urgent answers, I think, from public administrations across the country, before we see another crisis like this one.